Wednesday, February 5th, 2013, and this is the StephenBlakesley.com podcast. On today's podcast, we will talk to Derek Thorn about the upcoming Daytona Battle at the Beach and his recent testing at the all-new Kern County Raceway Park in Bakersfield. But first, a look at the racing news this week on the West Coast. Headlining the racing news was the USAC Non-Wing Winter Challenge events at Canyon Speedway Park in Arizona. After the first 3 nights were rained out, Brian Clausen got the victory in Wednesday night's main event. Friday's main event had controversy when Indiana standout John Sambro struggled with lap traffic and lost the race lead and the race win to Brian Clausen. One of the lap cars that impeded Stambro's progress was R.J. Johnson. The Saturday afternoon makeup race was Stambro versus Johnson for the win, ironically in a great side-by-side photo finish duel. Johnson was credited with the win based on the transponder loop scoring, although John Stambro contended that he beat Johnson back to the finish line. Brian Clausen answered back in the nightcap on Saturday to score a $5,000 victory, giving himself 3 wins out of 4 starts in Arizona. Californians Robert Ballou and Ryan Burnell reportedly had a scuffle in the pits after Saturday night's main event to end a wild week in the Wild Wild West. The SRL Spears Southwest Tour announced a list of 18 eligible Rookie of the Year contenders for the 2013 season. The 3 favorites among the list are 2012 Airport Auto Brokers champion Jeremy Doss, 2011 October SRL All-American Speedway winner Bobby Hodges, and 2012 Lucas Oil Modified Series champion Austin Barnes. Donnie St. Hours and Brandon White are also drivers on the list, expected to run the entire schedule, while others listed will run just limited campaigns in 2013. The University of Northwestern Ohio Battle at the Beach will be held February 18th through 19th on a temporary 0.4 mile oval on the backstretch at Daytona International Speedway, with racing for the NASCAR Can-Am Pro Series, Whelen Modified Tours, and Whelen All-American Series. All the features will air live on Speed. So far, only 5 Can-Am West drivers have confirmed their participation, including Derek Thorn, Michael Self, Cameron Haley, Greg Pursley, and David Mayhew. All 5 drivers are locked into the main events through race wins they had in 2012. StephenBlakesley.com has compiled an unofficial entry list that comes out to just under 20 cars total for the entire Can-Am East and West portion of the race. The headlining Can-Am East drivers include Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, John Hunter Nemechek, Corey LaJoie, and Tyler Reddick. In a sharp contrast to the Can-Am East car count numbers, the late model portion under a Whelen All-American Series banner for the Battle at the Beach is expected to grab as many as 60 entries in what should be a star-studded affair of the best late model drivers from the Southeast. In a last bit of breaking news, the ASCS Northwest region announced the dates for the 2013 Northwest Speed Week today. The Speed Week traditionally attracts a strong turnout of California drivers and will start July 1st at Southern Oregon Speedway in Medford, Oregon. July 2nd, it moves on to Coos Bay, Oregon, then to Lebanon, Oregon at the Willamette Speedway on July 3rd. The final 3 nights of the Speed Week, from July 4th to July 6th, will take place at Cottage Grove Speedway in Cottage Grove, Oregon, to wrap up the 6-night Speed Week for the ASCS Northwest. When we come back to the StephenBlakesley.com podcast, we'll talk to Derek Thorn about the upcoming Battle at the Beach and his impressions of the brand new Kern County Raceway Park. But first, a look at our sponsors. StephenBlakesley.com is brought to you by MotoWear International. Throughout the world of racing, there is a common thread. MotoWear, online at MotoWear.com. And also brought to you by Matt Jackson of Proline Pick Carts, the promoter of the Southwest Superlates, racing at Speedway Willow Springs in 2013. For more information, visit swsracing.com. And we're back on the StephenBlakesley.com podcast, and we're talking to Derek Thorn, the 2012 SRL Spears Southwest Tour champion. And Derek, thanks for coming on to the show again.
Heck yeah, buddy. It's always fun having time to talk to you.
So first things first, a lot of the big news this week has been about the Kern County Raceway Park out there in Bakersfield, and you had an opportunity to participate in a tire test on Saturday. What can you tell us about that racetrack? from your experience, just how amazing is that place?
It's fun. That's the third time now that I've been out there, and I've been in 3 different types of cars. I got to run a super late, a late model, and a tour car. It's one of those things where the track's always just fun, no matter what kind of car you're in. It really is. And, you know, it's going to be one of those places, I think, with time, once the place gets a little bit of rubber laid down on it, you get, 20 cars out there doing 50 laps a piece. The characteristics of the track will, I think it'll even get better than it already is.
Now, I heard from the management at Kern County Raceway that you had a little bit of a scare in that tire test and ended up cutting a tire down. Can you tell us about that?
I don't think we cut it. That was the hard part about it. We went into turn, I think I ran like 4 laps, and then I was getting down into turn 1 on my 5th lap, and it was like I just heard a pop, and the left rear tire had just gone flat. And I don't know how fast I was going, but I was doing at least 100. Get down into 1, and the thing, obviously, when you pop a tire, the thing wants to spin out on you. And that place is really big. Kern is probably one of the biggest or widest tracks that I've seen in a long time. So it had a lot of room for me to slow the car down without hitting the fence. But it was definitely one of those things you don't like doing every day because it makes your butthole pucker just a little bit. And the worst part about it is when I came back in, and we were looking at the tire and stuff, the tire actually was perfectly fine. I think it was the wheel that was, the wheel itself the tire was mounted on was defective. So when I got down to the corner, I got a little bit of side load in the car, the tire itself pulled it up underneath, and it kind of just fell off the bead, letting all the air out of the tires, what the actual problem was. So we ran the rest of the day with no problems, and I was just happy to see we were able to finish the day off and we didn't have a wrecked race car.
And in your experience over your career, you've raced at places like Nashville, and of course you've had a lot of experience at Irwindale. What makes this racetrack a little bit different from those tracks?
A lot of guys on the West Coast that have run Irwindale, that really haven't run any other place. It's really nothing like it. Irwindale's a half mile, Kern's an honest 5/8, and the layout's completely different. I'm going to say the straightaways are probably 100 feet longer, and the corners themselves are 10 feet narrower, and the baking configuration is a whole lot different. There's like 15 to 17 degrees of baking in the corners compared to Irwindale's, I don't know, 12 or 13, something like that. It just drives completely different. The driver himself, obviously, most guys will feel it out as they go, but once they hit the track, there'll be a 9-day difference. There's really nothing comparable. And like you said, I've run on Nashville before, and I don't know if anybody listening, has run at that place before, but it's really a lot like that. It's got the same kind of layout. Kern County has more of a D-shaped front straightaway, where Nashville is more of symmetrical, both front and back straightaways. But they both drive fairly similar. You want to get a good straight drive up off the corners, get the walls come up in a hurry. And, like any other sort of track, you want your car to rotate as good as possible. And Kern's definitely one of the places you're going to have to get the signature good.
We're on the phone with Derek Thorn, who will return to both the NASCAR Can-Am Pro Series and the Spears SRL Southwest Tour in 2013. And Derek, I understand you guys were doing some testing today on the Can-Am car to get ready for this big race at Daytona. I think that's probably the biggest challenge for everybody, is that this Daytona track is completely unlike anything else in racing. It's going to be a flat track, almost a half mile. What are you guys doing to prepare for that?
Man, I'm pumped, man. We went the guys in the shop have been working really hard the last 2-3 months since Phoenix ended. And the car that we got now, it's never been raced before. They've had it in their stable for a couple of years, and they've gone through it, put new front clip and stuff on it, new body. And we've done about everything we possibly do, the technology we can access. And Bill Sedgwick's been digging through his notes. And they've done a really good job today. That car itself is the best turning car I've driven. Especially at this facility here. We're actually over here at Willow Springs International Raceway. They have like a 3rd-mile flat track. And we put an angle finder on one of the corners, and it was 1.5 degrees. So it's not really flat, and a little bit of banking. But the place is a little bit worn out. It's low on grip, so it's a good place to go and knock out if your car has good turnability, good drive off the corners. Now, I'm really feeling confident after today's test that we'll show up with a piece that's pretty darn good. I don't know where we'll stack up with the rest of the country, but I'm feeling like we got pretty good odds and running pretty darn good back there.
And you go into the event at Daytona with a locked-in position based on your win at Lake Havasu last year. But in all honesty, using the qualifying heat races format, track position is going to be so important. I would imagine, Derek, that from your standpoint, going into those heat races, that even though you're locked in, you're probably still planning on being pretty aggressive.
Yeah, it's like you look at a race like Daytona, kind of similar to the Snowball Derby. You go back there with the intention of obviously every team that goes back there has the intention of running the top 5 and winning the race. I mean, that's just the mindset of every team that shows up. And to have a provisional is not something for using as a crutch. You really can't. It's just one of those things where if you're just having a bad weekend, you know, and you're having engine problems or suspension problems or tech issues, you know, a provisional is just the kind of thing that makes a 3,000-mile trip worth it. You know, it's not like you went back there, you know, something happened, and now you got to load up and go home because you just went fast enough to make the show. So we have the provisional to use as a crutch if need be, but obviously you go back there with the intent of always trying to win. And those heat race structure thing, I'm still trying to get familiar with. And maybe you can update me on it a little bit if you know more about it. But from what I'm saying, it's like a 25-lap or 30-lap race, you know, and they line you up in the heat races. And how you finish the heat race is how you start the main event, correct?
And it's really no secret that the K&N West Series guys have struggled at Iowa in the West-East combination races. I would have to think for a lot of the car owners at least, and maybe for you as a driver, you've got to be thinking that there's some revenge on everybody's minds on the West side to maybe prove everybody wrong after what happened at Iowa last year and try to get the West Series into victory lane at Daytona.
Oh, yeah. It's been like that for a while, I think, with the East and the West. It seems like the gap's been increasing, you know, with years recent. You know, it seems like it's been getting worse between the East and the West. And I've never been on a short track with the East guys. So I did when I was racing the East Coast in 2008. I had some chance or opportunities to race against them on some short tracks. So it's been a while, and it's nice to go back to with a guy like Bill Sedgwick, who at one time was pretty much the king of Saugus Speedway in LA there, and I think pretty much had reverse banking. So I feel Bill's a very, very smart guy, and I think it'll really help our corner to know he has so much experience on flat tracks, and everybody's kind of on an even keel. No one's really been to this place before. No one has the upper hand. It's just unlike any place that I've really seen ever on the West Coast. I don't know if anybody on the East Coast has something similar to race on, but, you know, everybody's on the same page. It's like starting with a clean slate. You know, which team can become accustomed to that racetrack the fastest and which driver can adapt the quickest. You know, it's kind of fun. You know, it's one of those things. It's 2013, but it's, you know, it's capping off the 2012 season. You know, the camaraderie and the environment of being at the Daytona 500, Daytona International Speedway will just be a really cool experience.
And if you look at your 2013 Can-Am Pro Series and 2013 SRL Southwest Tour, there's a lot of new tracks on the schedule. You got the SRL going to Pikes Peak. You have the K&N guys going to Kern County Raceway and going to Lebanon I-44 Speedway. With all of your experience in the history of your racing, with all your traveling and getting to go to new racetracks, do you think you kind of have a leg up on these guys this year?
So I think each time at any facility and any type of car always adds to your, like, a little notch on your belt, I guess. You know, you just can't beat experience sometimes. And I've been very fortunate to be with the teams I've been with in the past, and especially this year being with Sunrise Sport and Campbell Motorsports. You know, I think I have the upper hand just because of the teams I'm with. You know, I think they're really at the edge of their game, and Mike Keene with the SRL stuff's on top of his game, and the same with Bill Sedgwick with Sunrise Sport. I think it'll definitely be an advantage for us to go to places like that versus some of the other teams that are having to go to them. But, you know, at the same time, there's a lot of up-and-coming talent. You know, a lot of these kids, racing's a lot of sink or swim. You know, either you got it or you don't. And a lot of these kids that have a little bit of talent, you know, are going to go a long ways in racing. I think some of them, even though they haven't been to these bigger facilities, but I think a lot of the kids will pick it right up.
And we're on the phone with Derek Thorn to talk about the 2013 season. For him, he's running the SRL Southwest Tour and the NASCAR Can-Am Pro Series West. And Derek, I think one of the interesting things for your team was last year you guys brought on a rookie driver, Austin Dine, who was very inexperienced, and he went out there and got himself Rookie of the Year. And this year you'll be teaming up with Dylan Lupton. What's that like for you getting to work with these young guys, and how do you think Dylan's going to do this year?
I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen Dylan race before, but I think I got to meet him here a little bit ago, about a month or so ago. I ran into him and actually got to meet him for the first time. It seems like a really nice kid. I think as long as he keeps his head on his shoulders and let his head get too big. Seems like a lot of young and up and coming kids. It's easy for them to get a big head or arrogant or kind of overlook the whole meaningful side of racing itself. But I think Dylan will do an awesome job. The guys in the shop, I think will be a good fit for him. Jeff Strader's supposed to be his crew chief, and I think those two should hit it right off. I think they work together in high point racing. So I think that I think Dylan will have a bright future ahead of him. It sounds like he's got quite a bit of talent. It's just a lot of it's deep time experience, getting a feel for the cars, getting a feel for the racetrack to go to. But there's no reason why he shouldn't be winning races.
So I think the last thing I want to touch on is you won yourself that Sunoco National Point Steal between all the different late model groups, and you got to go back east and test for Joe Gibbs Racing, which had to be a great opportunity for you. And I'm sure you had some expectations going into that, and we look at your 2013 season, and you're out here running on the West Coast again. What do you think it's going to take to get Derek Thorn Racing on the East Coast again?
Yeah, I wish I knew the answer to it. I think it's the $1 million question. But I think the biggest thing is just marketing nowadays. You gotta be able to have the savviness for the driver, and you gotta have the financial backing to go with it, and have a hell of a marketing team or PR team to be able to put you in the right positions. Driving's only part of racing, as everybody knows, most people know, and nowadays winning races doesn't necessarily get you to the next level. It gets you looked at if it looks good on your resume to where, if you want to go to these bigger teams or convince a marketing company that you're worth their while to go out and find some money for you, and then be able to put you in a nationwide or truck program. Those are always options. It's just finding the right people. It's a lot about timing, being in the right place, right time, and just building relationships at this moment for myself. And I got to see great opportunities down here on the West Coast that, I personally didn't have the financing to do, and Bob Riccati and Byron Campbell didn't have to give me such great opportunities. It's just hard to find opportunities like that beyond where I am. Hard to find a truck ride for free and a nationwide program ride for free. Your fingers are always crossed. You're always trying to market yourself and talk to people, build relationships. It's just got to kind of hope for the best and keep digging, keep your nose to the grindstone for the most part.
Well, you've got a great opportunity in front of you this year with Bob Riccati, I think, in the K&N stuff. And we want to wish you good luck at Daytona, and thanks for talking to us, Derek.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me on, bud. Hopefully, I'll talk to you after Daytona and we got to win.
We want to thank you for tuning in to this edition of the StephenBlakesley.com podcast. Thanks again to our guest, Derek Thorn, and good luck to Derek and all of the K&N West drivers at the upcoming Battle at the Beach. A reminder for the best in short track racing news, you can follow us on our website, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube pages. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you at the races.